Hi, I'm Jordan the Nerd of Gold, and today is day 15 out of 52 as I try to answer at least 52 questions associated with DC Comics as I count down to my birthday. And if you want to be real cool and like and share, I have a birthday fun in the comments, and I would love it if you could contribute it and help me surprise my wife. But I'm going to answer this question right here, which was actually a message that I received, and they wanted to hear my thoughts on what I think is going to happen in Peacemaker Season 2, Episodes 6 through 8, because we really don't know what's going on there. I heard this morning that may have been spoiled. I'm going to do my best to avoid those spoilers, but these are my predictions for what's going to happen. So I think that it's going to be revealed that this is the Nazi Earth, Earth X, or whatever kind of naming they want to give it, because it makes just too much thematic sense. I would love it to be wrong and it go back to my idea that this is the crime syndicate Earth and not the Nazi Earth, because I like the crime syndicate more than I like the Nazi idea, but that's just a personal preference of mine. I do think, according to James Gunn's work and everything that he's done, it makes more sense that this is the Nazi Earth. Next, as far as who's going to be the big cameo that we've been talking about, I have talked about how I really want it to be Bloodsport, just so we can see some character dynamics between Peacemaker and Bloodsport, considering Peacemaker's growth. I do think it makes a lot of sense that Superman might show up, and I still think that's probably the leading bet, but I really love the idea that G.I. Robot will show up because this is a Nazi Earth. Ever since I heard that theory, that I didn't make myself, but I really love that idea. I think that's a pretty big one right there, because it's also G.I. Robot is relatively simple to bring to life in terms of doing it, and I think less costly than having David Cornsweet show up as Superman on there. So I think G.I. Robot is a leading candidate as the big cameo. Now, as far as what I think is actually going to happen in the episodes, what I think is going to happen, generally speaking, is that the 11th Street Gang is going to go over there. They're going to try to get Chris back, but we're going to spend most of episode 6 finally learning the other shoe drop, and Chris is like, oh, this world has things I love about it, but this isn't a good world. And that's going to be the slow realization, and then the 11th Street kids are going to show up, and it's going to be like, what do we do? What does this mean for their worlds? And then we're going to have Argus and Judo Master show up, and they're going to screw this up as the 11th Street kids and Peacemaker are trying to get themselves out of this world, because Peacemaker realizes they're right and that they don't need to be in this world. Things are going to go wrong because of Argus, and they're going to start a war with this other Earth. Now, I think that it's going to end up that Vigilante will end up like sacrificing himself, or nearly sacrificing himself, as he tries to shut the door and prevent the war from escalating by the end of Peacemaker Season 2, and we will deal with this war in another project at a later date. But I do think that Argus's intervention in going into the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, because we have seen previews that show them going into the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, I think that they're going to start a war in trying to get to Peacemaker, because Rick Flag, he is driven more by revenge than he's willing to admit. So I think he's going to push it too far, and that he's going to start a war with this Earth. I do think that we are going to see Peacemaker accidentally kill the version of Amelia Harcourt that exists over on that world, and that's going to make Rick Flag Jr. of that world follow back Peacemaker to his world and become a new enemy. And it's going to create a complicated dynamic, as that Rick Flag Jr., maybe his father doesn't exist in that world, and that's kind of why he's the way he is. So there's going to be a weird dynamic of Rick Flag Sr. finding his son, but it's not quite his son. And then, yeah, there's going to be a whole complicated three-way interaction between Rick Flag, Rick Jr., and Peacemaker as they try to sort out who's supposed to be who, what is their relationship to each other. I think that's going to be a big dynamic in potentially Peacemaker Season 3. So yeah, I think those are my major predictions for Season 2's finale episodes. If I have anything else, I will try to make another video before Peacemaker premieres Episode 6, but I will let you know, and have a wonderful day.